Hello and welcome! All of the bits and pieces and strips needed to make 35 blocks of the shooting star quilt are cut. Today we're going to start sewing them together. We're going to start with the section that makes the points of the star and the pinwheel in the center. Okay, this is highly scientific. Heads, we do the 5.5 by 3 and the white squares. Tails, we sew these strips together. Highly scientific. Okay, ready? Heads. Alright, I have my trusted sewing machine and I'm going to get my tools out. I'm going to do 140 of these, sewing a white square on either side, on both sides of them. I have a line drawn, 2 lines drawn on my machine. This line here on this side is in line with the needle, and so if I keep the corner, I'll hold this at a 45, and if I keep this corner right on that line, I'm going to bisect this at a 45-degree angle. Okay, and then if this line here on this side is a 1/4 inch, and so I use a lot of 1/4 inch seams because I quilt a lot, but if I were to make a lot of clothes, when I'm making clothes, I'll add a 5/8 line. And the way I see it is this is my machine and I can draw on it if I want to. So first thing I'm going to do is take my square and make sure I only have one. And I'm going to line this up. Okay, that's lined up like that. And then I'm going to sew a diagonal like this. You could draw a line from corner to corner, but to save myself from drawing literally hundreds of lines, I do this line on my machine, and I use this line on my machine as a guide, and I found that over the years that really speeds me up. Okay, so I'm going to get this, I'm going to hold this point right here in line with the needle. There, and I just sewed a diagonal across. So now we're just going to chain piece and do that to all of these. A lot of little bits to get through, and so I just find it's good to be zen and just enjoy the process and be patient. And then I have a Peaches that came to say hi to me. Okay, honey, get down. Yes, I love you too. I love you too. Okay. Anyway, I was just going to say, enjoy the process, and then I like to listen to a podcast, or I'll do my so-called live stream while I'm sewing my little bits like this, or listen to watch Star Trek, have it on in the background, and just listen to an audiobook, something like that. Remember, this is fun. Look at who just jumped behind my sewing machine. Buddy. You can't stay there. I'm going to move you. My first side is stitched down. And look at how nice that's going to fold. You can see that goes, when I iron it, it's going to go right to the edge. Gorgeous. As I am sorting these out, I found a mistake. I don't have too many, but it's kind of hard to see because it's white on white. But if you look, all the seams should be going this way. Here's one that's turned wrong. This one here. So I will get to rip that out and turn it over. If I were making flying geese, and if I were crossing my seams sewing this way, I would have to iron this and trim it back first. But since I'm not crossing seams and I'm going the opposite direction, I can do my trimming all at the same time.
Did you ever get the feeling that you have been here before? That you have been here before?
These are all sewn and separated from chain piecing, and now it's time to iron. For squaring these up, I'm going to use a 6.5 inch ruler for this 5.5 inch section. And when you're squaring these with these 1/2 inch increment rulers, you need to be very mindful of where your 1/2 inch is, because believe me, more than once I have made cutting errors because my 1/2 inch was not where I wanted it to be. So in lining this up, I have the 1/2 inch on this side because this is 5.5 inches, and I'm aiming for the whole 5 mark. And then I have, this is 3 inches, so I'm aiming for the 3. So I'm going to take this and trim this up here. Line it up well, give it a trim on this side. Flip it round, trim up this side. There we go. And we want to cut the excess off here. You could use a rotary cutter and your ruler and trim that off at 1/4 inch. You can also use scissors, and I prefer to use scissors personally. That's just my preference, in part because then I know that my ruler is always in the same orientation, but either is valid, and we'll do the next one. As I'm squaring these up, all of these turned out pretty well. I still have this pile to go. And on this one, do you see what's wrong here? I accidentally trimmed this. Yeah, I'm like way big. So if I were to trim this down, I would cut this point off, and that would like throw my points off, and I want my points to match. So this one, I get to take this off, cut it down to 5.5 inches, and then sew my triangle, sew my square back on. Okay, other mistake. You know, if I were thinking, I would have had this ready. It's on one of these. It's way short. I made note of it. Here. Look at how crooked this white square is. So I'm going to take this seam out, sew it back on again, redo it, sew it back on, because I'm way over 1/8 of an inch off in that corner, so I'm just going to redo that. 140 of these are now done, and we are ready to tackle the next section. Stay tuned! In my next video, I'll be putting together the 2-patch, which is the final building block needed to make this quilt block. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.